It looks like Mercedes Moné, aka Sasha Banks, is headed to AEW and could be debuting for the company as soon as Wednesday night on AEW Dynamite. I'm going to tell you everything we know about this story so far. Before I do, though, I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right. So Mercedes Moné, we had known that she has been in discussions with both WWE and AEW. Reports indicate that Mercedes and WWE were in talks, and then Fightful Select dropped that bomb right before AEW World's End that talks had broken down, and then Dave Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer newsletter, kind of took it a step further and said one of the reasons they broke down was because Mercedes and WWE were apparently far apart on money. And when you think about her being a free agent and, you know, the news that Charlotte Flair had just gotten one of, if not the biggest contract, I believe, that a female talent has ever gotten, you know, I think Mercedes Moné being the top free agent in professional wrestling today kind of warrants her asking for just as much, if not more money, since that's what the market is. Okay, where do we stand today? All right. FightfulSelect.com yesterday dropped a report stating that Sean Ross Sapp has spoken to a lot of people, and apparently many sources expect Mercedes to land with AEW sooner rather than later. And Sean has kind of been, I'm not going to say adamant, but he has said this a few times now that, you know, it looks like Mercedes is headed to AEW, and Sean is obviously one of, if not the most well-sourced person in professional wrestling media today. You take it a step further, Brian Alvarez yesterday said that he would be surprised, Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer, I should say, he said he would be surprised if Mercedes did not debut on Dynamite Wednesday night. So it looks like all roads point to, at some point, Mercedes joining AEW, being all elite and getting that money. So let's talk about kind of this story and you know what it means, right? Because we had known that 2024 was going to be a big year for free agency. And if you take away the MJF stuff, which many people believe is a work, myself included, you also have big contracts coming up like Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Becky Lynch, and Andrade is now a free agent, and it looks like he might be headed to WWE at some point. Deonna Purrazzo is also expected to be in AEW as well. So we knew that 2024 was going to be a big free agent market, and Tony Khan alluded in the post AEW World's End media scrum that he was going to be very aggressive in this season's free agent market. And he wanted to go out there and go get the top talent in the world and prove that AEW is still a competitor when it comes to money, talent, and their creative and how well they're booked, and also just in the industry at large to WWE. And I think making sure that you're able to sign these big free agents and making sure that your AEW over the last year and a half as far as free agents goes has not been the best for you. You've brought in some good names. However, you've also lost a lot of good names. That was bound to happen. Jade Cargill and Cody Rhodes are two of the biggest. CM Punk, for multiple reasons, became a free agent and joined WWE eventually. So those are three massive losses over the past almost 2 years now for your company. So at some point, you had to find a way to counteract that. Now they brought in Adam Copeland. They are expected now to bring in Mercedes. They could land a Drew McIntyre, potentially a Becky Lynch. I know that Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch have kind of alluded to the fact that they may be looking to re-sign with WWE. However, I also believe that if they're not at least going to speak to AEW, I don't think that that's a wise business decision. You want to make sure that you capitalize on as much opportunity as possible. And if you're even able to get WWE to bump their offer a little bit just based off of what AEW offers, that's a great business move. And I do believe that they will at least try that. Now, going back to Mercedes, this opens the door for so much. Not only is Mercedes the biggest free agent in the world today, on top of that, she's arguably the best technical wrestler in the world. Like, and I truly mean that. If you go and watch her matches that she's had in Stardom, had in New Japan, had in WWE, like the big time matches have all been great. She has been killing it her entire career. And it just feels like for whatever reason, you know, she was kind of taking a backseat to Charlotte. She was kind of taking a backseat. And at no point in WWE did it really feel like it was her time. And I really believe that now in AEW, her time has come because there is no bigger star in your women's division than Mercedes Moné. And what this opens the door for over the next year, 2 years, however the length of this deal possibly could be, great matches with the likes of Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, when she returns, Jamie Hayter whenever she returns, the reigning defending AEW World Champion Toni Storm, who kind of called out Mercedes a little bit in that post-World's End media conference. You open the door for matches against Hikaru Shida, Riho, Nyla Rose, some of AEW's biggest talent, some of AEW's young talent. Julia Hart versus Mercedes is a big match. Chris Statlander versus Mercedes is a big match. So there's so much you could do. There's so many matches you could have. And of course, eventually it has to happen. Saraya versus Mercedes should happen at some point. Because I don't care whether it's a storyline match or whatever. There is so much you could allude to in that match and so much you could call back to if both women are comfortable with it that would make it must see. And it is exciting. And it's an excitement that I think that AEW for most of 2023 did not have. Because it felt like for most of 2023, while they were having great matches, some great stories and all that, there wasn't that same excitement about the brand as there had been in 2021, as there had been in 2020, as there had been when AEW first launched in 2019, and that was going to happen. There was going to be a slump, for lack of a better term. But coming out of that, you have the ability to overcome it by making a splash, signing these big free agents, telling great stories, and making your show must watch. And that's what AEW, I believe, needs to get back to. And I think they can do that with Mercedes Moné. This is exciting news. We'll see what happens on Dynamite. I want to hear from you, though. What do you guys think is going to happen? Will Mercedes Moné debut on Dynamite? Will they save it for sometime down the line? Will she even sign with AEW? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.